Hi, everyone. It's my privilege to share with you Psalm 25. We don't know exactly when David wrote this psalm, but there is speculation that he wrote it at a time when he was running away from Saul. And if you've been with me and you've gone with me to Israel, as hundreds of you have now, I've shown you we have gone down to En-Gedi, and that's one of the places where David hid from Saul, and you've seen the spring come out of the mountains, and you've seen all the caves. And as we go through this psalm, I want you to think of David sitting in the right at the entrance of one of those caves, looking at the Dead Sea, looking at the desert. There with some of his men, running for his life. He's got all these promises from God about Samuel had anointed him. He's got great promises about him in the future. But they're all promises. Right now, he's camping out in a cave, running for, way high on the hill, running for his life. In verse 1, he says this: "To thee, O Lord, I lift up my soul. O my God, in thee I trust. Do not let me be ashamed. Do not let my enemies exult over me. Indeed, none of those who wait for thee will be ashamed." One thing I didn't mention is this is one of my favorite psalms, and I pray through it on a regular basis. And one of the first things I pray is exactly what David prayed here, and that is, God, I lift my life to you. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know what the next couple months will bring, but I trust you. I trust that your promises are going to be fulfilled in my life. I know that as David said here, he says, I'm not going to be ashamed. My enemies won't be able to laugh at me because I trusted in you. I know that when I trust in you, you're going to come through. You picture David in the entrance of that cave, in the situation that he was in, saying, Lord, I trust you. I trust the promises that you've made to me, and I know that you're going to come through. Then in verse 4, he says, "Make me know thy ways, O Lord. Teach me thy paths. Lead me in thy truth and teach me, for thou art the God of my salvation. For thee I wait all day long." I'm sure, you wouldn't be listening to these devotions. You wouldn't be going through God's word if you didn't want God to speak to you. Like you, I pray, God, I want to know. There's a lot of voices out there. But just like David here, I want you to teach me your paths. I want to know the way you want me to go. And then, of course, for thee I wait all day long. This whole idea of waiting. You don't have to be a Christian very long before you learn that so often our Christian life involves waiting for God. Waiting for that promise to come through. Waiting for that brother or sister to come to the Lord. A lot of waiting. I've done a lot of waiting in my life, but I've never been ashamed. God has always come through. Verse 7 talks about, remember the sins of my youth, of my transgressions, so on. Years ago when I started praying through this psalm, I was quite a bit younger. I didn't get married till I was 35, didn't have my first kid till I was 40, didn't really get into the ministry. I was trying to start a church till I was 30 years old. And the reason is because I'd made bad decisions, and I used to get to this part in this psalm, and I used to pray for God to give me back the years that the locusts ate out of my life. And God did that. Verse 9, God leads the humble in justice. He teaches the humble his way. And I always pray, God, I want to be humble. I don't want to think more highly of myself than I should. I don't want to see a situation and be so prejudiced because of my own pride or whatever that I don't see what I really need to see. And I don't think that you can understand justice without being aware that you have prejudices in your life. And so you ask God, Lord, help me to see above that. I want to see what I'm not seeing. And so when I get to this place of this psalm, that's what I pray. I pray for humility. And as Paul prayed in Romans, help me not to think more highly of myself than I should. Verse 12, who is a man who fears the Lord? He will instruct him in the way he should choose. Verse 14, the secret of the Lord for those who fear him, and he will make them know his covenant. Well, fearing the Lord is a topic I preached a lot on. I wrote a book on. Fearing God is the understanding that there's consequences for disobedience. And so David here is saying, I want to know how to fear you, because I understand if I fear you, and I understand that there's consequences for the decisions I make. I want to make the right decision. I want to choose you. I want to choose your way. The secret of the Lord for those who fear him. You know, when I get to this part, I said, God, Lord, I want you to know that you can share things with me. You can tell, who do we share secrets with? We share secrets with the people that we trust. That we trust if we tell something, they'll keep it to themselves. If we ask them to do something, they will do it. And when I get to this place, I said, Lord, I fear you. I fear your word. God, I want to be a person that you can trust. You can tell me to do something. I want you to know I'm going to do it. That's the kind of person I want to be. And of course, that's the type of person who's going to be very concerned about the covenant, concerned about what God's word says about every aspect of their life. Just skipping down to verse 20 because we're running out of time here. Guard my soul and deliver me. There are so many things in this culture that tries to pull me away, tries to pull you away, tries to get us sidetracked and all kinds of stuff. Do not let me be ashamed, for I take refuge in thee. Here's David proclaiming again, Lord, I take refuge in you. My life right now doesn't look very good. I'm eating rabbit stew and snakes out here. I got to walk away down there to get my water, just waiting for Saul to come. But I take refuge in you, and I know that you're going to come through. For I wait for thee. Redeem Israel, O God, out of all of her troubles. Of course, that was just a prayer as a kind of a tacked-on prayer of David. Israel was, there's almost like a civil unrest, similar than we have here. Many people were sick of Saul, sick of what he was doing. But anyway, so David is praying for that to end. Hope that was a blessing to you. I told you last Sunday that these psalms that we're going to be sharing with you are psalms that had meaning for us. And I hope that was a blessing to you. God bless.